Hello again. Welcome back to the library. My name is Kristen. I don't think I actually say that in all of these videos. I don't think I introduce myself. I'm going to talk to you about this book that I've read because I have thoughts and I need to talk about it. This book is called This Is Where We Talk Things Out by Caitlin Marceau. And this is where we talk things out. Shut up, I know. Okay. This book has been uh you know, there's a lot of chatter about it, right? It's been buzzing. It's been buzzing around at least BookTube. I don't know about Book Talk. And after reading it, I can understand why. How this book made me feel.
I know you can be overwhelmed and you can be underwhelmed, but can you ever just be whelmed?
Let's start from the very beginning here. This book is the story of a mother and daughter. The mother's name is Sylvie. The daughter's name is Miller. And they have an estranged relationship. And they are going on a trip to try and mend their relationship. And they're going for a weekend to stay at this cabin somewhere up north. And there is a snowstorm coming in. So they kind of get snowed in. That's the basic plot. But that's a really, really vague description of this story. And that's usually what you get when people tell you about this story, because they don't want to tell you too much about this story. Well, buckle up, kids, because I'm going to tell you a little bit more about this story. I'm not going to spoil it. Okay, I'm not going to spoil the ending. But I am going to tell you a little bit more in detail what this book is about. I think it needs to be talked about more in order to get an idea of whether you want to actually read this book. This book is about the daughter of a narcissist and the very damaged relationship that they have. And this daughter trying to create some kind of relationship with her narcissistic parent, while knowing hi Ellie, how much her how much this damaged her growing up. And it is, I think, a very excellent example of the damage that a narcissistic parent can do to a child and what it's like to be the child of a narcissist. That's what I took away from this book. The book starts out with Miller talking to her fiance, Florence. And Florence, bless her heart, is the most likable character in this whole book, because she's the only one with actual brains. She is telling Miller, what you're doing is ridiculous. I don't think you should do this. This is a bad idea. Because Miller has decided, after I think it's been at least a year, that she's been no contact with her mother. And she went no contact with her mother after her father died. Basically, Miller has set boundaries. You know, she's, set, she's done all the things. She set boundaries. She's tried to have some control over her life, do all of the normal things that adults do. And her mother, Sylvie, has just ignored them or used them against her, like tried to hurt her with them. Typical narcissistic parent behavior. And finally, Miller, after her father died, went no contact. Well, her mother got a new phone number, started texting her, started calling her. She blocked the number. She then found Miller on social media. So Miller stopped using social media. She then looked up Miller's friends, convinced them to tell her where she works, stalked her down at work, and has basically been, stalking Miller for like weeks. Completely unhinged behavior. So Florence obviously is going, this is unhinged behavior from anyone. You shouldn't be going off anywhere with this person, let alone on a weekend trip with her. Because Miller finally broke down, talked to her, has decided that she's going to go away for the weekend to a cabin in the woods with Sylvie to try and reconnect, try and work things out. Miller has, obviously does not have a very good survival instinct. But while she's packing, she is explaining to Florence that, she doesn't have any other family. This is her only blood family. She wants to at least try to have some sort of connection because they're getting married in a couple of months, and she wants to have maybe possibly have someone there on her side that is just hers, not their friends, not Florence's family. She wants to have somebody that's just hers. And I can kind of understand this, but also, you know what your mother's like. You know what she's capable of doing to you mentally and emotionally. Why would you willingly, you know, go away with this person? Rational thinking is that if she goes with her now, then she doesn't have to worry. Maybe she won't have to worry about her just showing up unexpectedly to their wedding and doing something. But while she's packing, Florence is looking at the weather and she's like, do you realize that there's a giant winter storm coming this weekend? And you said you're going up north? Now, this story takes place in Canada. And I live in Ohio, right? So even here, if there's a winter storm, I'm not going anywhere where there's a potential to be snowed in. But in Canada, I know for a fact it's a lot worse. Yeah, so like Florence's idea is like, hey, why don't you just tell her that you'll do this another weekend when it's not going to be Snowmageddon? And Miller's like, no, if I do that, she'll think I'm brushing her off, and it'll be a whole big thing. What? I'm gonna put out this caveat right here, that I'm gonna be blaming the victim some when I talk about this book. And I'm going to put out there that this is a work of fiction. If this is a real case, if these were real people, if this was nonfiction, I wouldn't do this. But this is fiction. So. But anyway, Miller just brushes it off because. So the next day comes around, Friday, and Sylvie shows up, and she shows up 15 minutes early, which Miller's expecting. And she sees her drive in. So there's no wasted time. She says goodbye to Florence. She walks out the door. And the first thing that happens is Sylvie micromanages where she puts her bag. She tells her she can't put it in the trunk. She tells her that she can't put it on her side, the driver's side of the car. She has to put it on the passenger side. And then she has to put it on the floor and not the seat. Before they even leave, Miller gets in the car and she says, "Hey, can you tell me where we're going? I want to text Florence and tell her." And immediately, Sylvie jumps on her. Like, why? Why do you want to know? Why does she want to know? Is she going to show up? Is she going to intrude? Why does she need to know? What's the big deal? Why? And Miller says, "No, I want her to know where I'm going. She wants to know where I'm going to be in case something happens. And because, it's a normal relationship thing and, trust and all that stuff. And, in case something happens." Now, she's not asking for an address to the cabin. She's not asking for specifics like GPS coordinates. She's simply asking for like the name of the town, like the general area of where they're going. And Sylvie pulls out, "Well, I don't know where it is. It's in between two provinces. It's got some French name. I'd have to pull out the map." So Miller goes, "Okay, pull out the map." And Sylvie's like, "Well, we're already late. I've been here for 20 minutes. And Miller's like, thinking, "No, you've literally been here like 5 minutes, and it's not even 3 o'clock, which is when we were going to leave." But she didn't say anything. And this whole time I'm thinking, if you don't know where it is that you're going, lady, how are you going to get there? How do you know where to go? And why isn't Miller thinking this? So Miller's like, "Well, okay, well, I guess when we get there, we'll look at the map and you can tell me." From this moment on, I decided that anything that happened to Miller for the rest of this book was going to be her fault. Because at that moment, that's when you get out of the car. You don't ever let anyone take you to a second location without telling you where you're going. Ever. Because that's how people end up dead. Because if she won't tell you even a general idea, an area of where you're going, that means she doesn't want anyone to know where you're going. That means she doesn't want you to be found. And that's not normal behavior. That's not simply a control issue. That's, I don't want you to tell anyone where we're going. I don't want anyone to know where you are because I don't want anyone to be able to find you. I mean, first of all, my thoughts on this whole thing is, if you want to patch up your relationship with your mom, have a weekend at a hotel in the city, in a location where you're familiar, or get the address and drive to the location yourself. Have an exit plan. You haven't spoken to your mother seriously in over a year, and she's been stalking you. Not to mention, the most obvious thing here is all you have to say is, there's a storm coming. I need to be able to let her know where we'll be in case something happens and we can't get back. That way she can, send rescue. Also, a very common, obvious question that she does not ask is there cell phone service where we're going? Is there Wi-Fi? Is there a phone? Is there some means of connectivity to the outside world where we're going? Miller does not ask this. Maybe not everybody thinks about this, but I do. It was just weird to me that, like, a simple question of, is there reception where we're going, never crossed her mind. So they start driving. They go. They're driving. They have like little fights. They have like random fights that, are just very clear cut, showing you just how obvious it is that Sylvie is very much a narcissist. Like, everything that Miller says that is in no way an attack, Sylvie turns around to being an attack on her. She's a bad mother. She doesn't love her. Everything she turns around on her. And this is just showcases just how good narcissists are at being manipulative, and how good they are at like that emotional manipulation and playing the victim and all of that. So they get to the cabin, and Miller only has her one bag. So she asks Sylvie if she needs help bringing stuff in, because Sylvie had said, hey, the trunk is full of my stuff. You can't put your bag there. Well, Sylvie gets out of the car and says, oh, I don't have any luggage. And just walks up to the house and unlocks it. And Miller is just kind of like, what? So Miller goes and walks into this cabin, and it is deja voodoo land. Right? She walks in, and this cabin is made up to be exactly her childhood home. Like, everything is exact. The rugs, the wallpaper, the paint, the curtains, the soap, the beds, the bedding, the furniture, everything from her childhood home that she thought had been either thrown away or donated or was gone, because they had moved out of this home when her dad had gotten sick, and her parents had moved into an apartment, and she was an adult, so she had moved out. Everything that she had thought was just gone is back, and it is identical. It is spot on. Right down to like the knife marks on like the cutting board, the cutting surface on the counter. It is insane. It is just like walking into like a time warp. And she just is like, what the F is this, Sylvie? And Sylvie's like, why are you calling me Sylvie? I'm your mother. Call me mom. Call me mom. And Miller's like, yeah, you haven't been my mom in a long time, and we're not friends. We're strangers. I don't really feel comfortable calling you mom. She's like, I. So Miller's like, I thought all this stuff was gone. What is this? And she's like, oh, I put it in storage. I've been saving it. My therapist thought it was a good idea for me to have a place that was a getaway. So I just brought it all here and set it up. Don't you like it? And she's like, it's something. This is why you should have driven yourself, Miller. Because at this moment, it's abundantly clear that Sylvie is completely unhinged. She's completely off her rocker. And you need to get away and not be alone with this woman. And it just keeps getting weirder and weirder as the whole weekend goes on. Like, Sylvie ends up, she takes Miller's clothes that she brought with her and destroys them so that Miller is forced to wear these clothes that Sylvie has made that are identical to ones that she had as a child, which are like t-shirts with princesses on them and jeans with like embroidered flowers. And she's just like completely appalled by this because she's far too old to be wearing this. And I'm like, they're jeans with embroidered flowers. Those might be kind of cute. And since when are you too old to wear graphic tees with Disney princesses on them? Like, I don't have any t-shirts with Disney princesses on them, but I do have a t-shirt with Disney villains on them that I literally just bought like a couple months ago. So, calm down, Miller. You're never too old to wear Disney. So, throughout the whole thing, the storm hits and they get a lot of snow. To the degree of like they go snowshoeing. And okay, I've never been snowshoeing, but I do know that in order to snowshoe, you have to have enough snow to actually like walk on. So there has to be at least a couple 3 inches. And things are just getting weirder and weirder. This whole time I'm like, you know that something bad's going to happen, right? But this whole time I'm just like, Miller, you've done this to yourself because you do not see the signs. Miller does not see the signs. She does not see any of the signs that her mother has gone around the bend and is no longer just the narcissistic mother that she's always been, but that she is completely unhinged. And so they're out snowshoeing, and it doesn't hit. The reality of the situation doesn't hit until they're out snowshoeing, and an accident happens, and Miller gets extremely injured. Like, very seriously injured. Like, needs to go to the hospital injured. And Sylvie flat out refuses. And at this point, this is the moment here. This moment is when Miller finally realizes that she's made a terrible mistake. And it goes downhill from there. I won't go into the rest of it because I don't want to give away the ending. The ending reminded me a lot of like The Shining because of just how like absolutely just batshit it goes. And honestly, this book, like everything about it, I knew was going to happen. I knew how like it was going to just go insane. Everything was going to I knew everything that was going to happen. I called it. I do recommend this book. I wouldn't call this book horror. It is very much a thriller. But I know that everybody has different opinions, everybody has different flavors, and some people would read this and go, yes, this is absolutely horror. I did like it. I do recommend it. If you like thrillers that are a little bit are that are edgier, that are psychological, and that are more on the horror side, that push that envelope, where you know that bad things are going to happen. The dynamics here, the character dynamics are excellent. And again, this is an excellent example of, a narcissistic parent and child relationship. That part is so spot on and so well written. And also, this book is very short. It's a novella. It's roughly 100 pages. You can get through this really quickly. So you're not investing like a lot of time to read it. It goes really fast and you won't want to stop because you'll need to know what happens, like how this all turns out. Well, that's it. I'm done talking about this one. Thanks for watching. Remember, read what you love. I will talk to you later. Bye.